With us, and I hope you're enjoying the breakfast we're serving you morning on morning. On Friday, the 28th of February, will mark the 77th anniversary of the 28th February tradition. 1948, when disappointed World War II veterans marched without arms to the seat of government. That was the Christenbosch Castle to present a petition to remind the governor of the unfulfilled promises made to them during the war. This day in history is remembered. We remember three stalwarts: Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Latipo, and Private Odate Lamte, were angered by the unwarranted violence. They did what they had to do. That will be one of the cardinal points towards Ghana's independence, which will be celebrated a few days away from today. But I have a man who has been doing a lot of talking for veterans. He's in studio in flesh and blood, clad in official XW1 Bright Segbefi, as always, the PR of the Veterans Administration of Ghana. Chief, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny.
And how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Today you appear different. You miss your days, don't you?
Yes.
Today you are dressed like a proper veteran.
Yes.
And for those of you who want to see how XW1 Bright Segbefi is dressed, go onto Facebook now. You will see him in flesh and blood, dressed properly. Now, Chief, tell me, what's the essence of this whole Veterans Day celebration?
The Veterans Day celebration is a positive attempt to resurrect the fallen spirit of patriotism. That's the way I will simplify it.
I see. If you say our patriotism has fallen, how exactly do you mean?
You may challenge me for not providing any empirical or scientific evidence, but I don't think you fault me for making that sweeping statement, because when you take a cursory look at issues these days, it's like money has become the focus and target of everybody, the youth not exempted.
Right. I see. Now, this year will be 77 years after the incident that was a cardinal point in our fight or our run-up towards the Independence Day. When you interact a lot with the veterans, when you talk to them, what do they tell you? What do they remember?
It's despondency, is disappointment, frustration, and all the negativities that one can think about as far as retirement life is concerned, particularly for the veterans.
And how many of them are alive at this point?
For the Second World War veterans, we may not have less than 20.
Right.
And let me try to mention the names of a few.
Right.
I'll start from the Western region. We have Bombardier Noko. He lives in the Azim area.
Okay.
We have Corporal Emmanuel Asare. Emmanuel Asare is about 102 years.
Right. Wow.
Yes, 102 years. That is for Western region.
Okay.
And we come to Central region. We have Kofi Nyamfosa.
Okay.
There. We come to Greater Accra. Comrade Ashite.
Okay.
Celebrated who turned 100 in May.
Right.
Who turned 100 in May.
He was made a W.
Yes.
Right. He was a private who was promoted to a W.
Yes. Historic.
Very beautiful ceremony.
Unprecedented. And then apart from Comrade Ashite, we have Comrade Wisdom Kudobo, who ever headed Kwando Technical School, Accra Technical School, and the first director of NVTI, defunct NVTI.
Right.
The first
National Vocational Training Institute.
Yes.
Wow.
Wisdom Kudobo. And it will interest you to know that he was the primary school teacher of Dumegan Sami Okujeto.
Wow.
Yes.
The brilliant lawyer.
Yes.
Wow.
This Second World War veteran.
I see.
Taught him in the primary school.
I see.
Last year, when they met at the commemorative event at the Nationalism Park,
right.
It was all joy. When the veteran finished reading the roll call and went to resume his seat, his former students approached him to have a hearty handshake with him. It was a sight worth beholding.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
And he told us that yes, he taught him in the primary school.
Right.
And he used to run away from a caning. You jokingly said that to you.
I see. These veterans.
And then let me continue.
Right. Sorry.
Greater Accra, we have Ajinfra there.
Okay.
We have Okain there. We have a few. And then let me move to Volta region. We have Godfred Ameganji there. We have, he lives at Shian, near Ho. We have Dake and Kanda, both of them live in Peki. We have Kwashigan in Keta.
Right.
Then let me move to Eastern. We have Kunto, we have Boachi, and others. Ashanti region, we have Wood, who is 104 years.
104. So there's 102, 104.
Yes. Another 104 died last year in Ho.
Oh, may he rest in peace.
Ho and Alavanyo.
Okay.
Then I'll leave the rest and move to the northern region. We have Akampalba Bulsa.
Okay.
He lives at Sandema. Yes. So we can count not less than 20 of the surviving Second World War veterans.
Right.
Yes.
What is the state of their condition at this point? What can you tell me?
The state of their condition is no different from the condition of the contemporary veterans. However, what is a bit different in their case is the fact that Veterans Administration Ghana has been able to secure some grants, annual grants from the Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League in the UK with the support of the British government. This grant comes twice in a year, and it is 110 pounds split into two. And these days, it is gratifying to note that surviving widows of the Second World War veterans are also put on the grant list. You must be certified, and before we put in the application for you, and which must also be audited by the British. Twice a delegation was here to personally or physically pay them, those in Greater Accra and Ashanti region. Yes.
I see. Let's talk about...
So that is what has
sustained them. But is that enough? These people fought for our independence. They put their lives on the line.
Half a loaf is better than none, so the saying goes. Yes, they were demobilized in 1945, 46, 47, but it was only recently that VAG succeeded in securing them the grants just about 7 years ago. So what about the period between the time of demobilization and the time that we succeeded in getting them these grants? Life has been very, very terrible for them. Very, very terrible. And then if you look into their discharge booklets, the booklets that was issued to them containing their age at the time of demobilization, the academic qualification, total sum of money paid them at the time of demobilization. The amount is peanuts. It's nothing to write home about.
They went to the Christenborg Castle to see the governor at the time.
Yes.
To demand for what is rightfully theirs. Did they get their monies?
No, nothing useful came out of that venture to them as individuals. What came out of that was for the collective good of Ghanaians. Collective good in the sense that they paid the ultimate price, particularly the three martyrs. I'm talking about Sergeant Ajete,
right.
Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte. Yes, the ultimate price that this gentleman paid. And don't forget that others sustained gunshot wounds.
That's right.
Fled and died in their homes with those wounds without their graves even being marked. Otherwise, today would have been counting more than the three.
Right.
Yes. That price, the ultimate price that they paid, actually paved the way for the proto-nationalists, Kwame Nkrumah and co. to cash in, which eventually hastened our independence struggle on 6 March 1957. Otherwise, our independence date wouldn't have been what it is. It would have been delayed because when you look at the continent, apart from Ghana, others had theirs in 1960. So Ghana would also have been in the 1960s.
I see. Well, let's listen to W.O. He's one, right? W.O.1.
Yes.
Yeah, W.O.1, Joshua Hammond.
Okay.
Right.
Many battles in war. Butidong, Mayong, Pakoku, Mabu, and Kindongi. We fought the Japanese ferocious wars that is beyond anyone's comprehension. I don't believe that today, even I will sit here to address all of you. We fought for the British Empire. Now they turn their guns on earth. Sergeant Ajete, Atipo, Odate, and myself. I am alive here. They have all gone. They have killed all of them. And I'm going to make sure that I will demand from the government something must be done for them.
He will also be marking his centenary anniversary this year.
This was when he turned 100. This was maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yes, but not he, Comrade Ashite. He was speaking for
everybody.
Yes, for everybody. Yes, he made a personal pledge to demand for them what he felt was their due.
That's right.
If you ask me whether he has been successful, I don't think I'll be competent to say to answer that. I can only say, however, that nothing much has changed in the lives of the veterans. Nothing much has changed. You see, I just said elsewhere that the nation talks about the Big Six, and anytime the Big Six is mentioned, some names flood our minds.
That's right.
But what about those who blazed the trail, those who actually took the risk? I'm talking about the three martyrs.
That's right.
Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte. How do we couch? We should couch a simple a name or phrase, such that whenever it is mentioned, then like we do to the Big Six, where our minds go to the three.
That's right.
So here I am of the view that we can talk about the premier three, or the three pioneers. So such that anytime the three pioneers is mentioned, then we know that a reference is being made to this gentleman. And sometimes GES ordered the publication of some exercise books.
Right.
And then on the cover of these exercise books, I am of the view that the picture of the three can be put out there, just like the back page.
Right.
Sometimes I see some of the exercise books. I don't know whether they were printed at the instance of GES.
Right.
But you see footballers of foreign origin on these books.
That's right.
The significance of these footballers to this nation.
To us, is next to zero.
I don't know. I don't know. So this is my thinking that if something... And then let me chastise the GES. I will continue to chastise them for removing the teaching and learning of history from their curriculum. Unlike in our days where history was a subject on its own.
Right.
These days they call something social studies.
That's right.
Which is a dilution of the historical accounts of this country.
Okay.
So the history has been, when I said patriotism is on the decline.
Right.
You sought to demand the empirical evidence.
That's right.
But I think by and large you agreed with me that yes, it is a fact. How do we revive this spirit of patriotism? When the living conditions of these veterans are nothing to write home about. And as just said elsewhere, that when the frog in the lead falls into a ditch, then it is proper for those behind in the queue to take a precaution.
That's right.
So when this, we may not blame the youth much because they are taking a cue from us. They are learning from us.
That's right.
They are looking at our lifestyles. How is life with the veteran?
That's right.
How is life with the veteran?
Those who sacrificed.
Those who sacrificed.
What did they get?
What did they get?
And why should I sacrifice?
Why should I sacrifice?
I get your point.
So, for us to ask President Mahama is resetting the agenda of this country. I think that agenda reset must factor veterans. Yes, must take care of the veterans because Johnny, I tell you, I'm not going to mention figures.
Right.
Our pension pay, when you take the difference between a lieutenant colonel on retirement and a colonel on retirement, if you see the difference,
it's huge.
It's as narrow as the sea.
What?
Yes.
The sea is not narrow, is it?
Okay. It's as narrow as the sea.
This is Burma Camp Talk.
This is 3FM 92.7 talk.
It's as narrow as the sea.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes.
You know,
several unsuccessful attempts have been made to get the yawning gap bridged. But this has something to do with a statutory defect. Statutory defect in the sense that the calculation of our pension takes its root from the laws of the Ghana Armed Forces.
Right.
And until the clause is amended, it looks like members of the Armed Forces Council are helpless. There is nothing they can do about it. And we are not talking about periodic pay increments across the board. No, that's not how. If you are thinking that the periodic pay increments will solve the problem, no. The periodic increments will rather widen the gap.
Because each time you increase for me, you have to increase for them.
Exactly so.
And then the gap remains.
The gap remains and gets widened. So, lieutenant colonels and below, something needs to be done about their pension pay.
Right.
If they are pushed up to close the gap, the yawning gap between the lieutenant colonels and colonels.
Right.
I don't want to mention figures here.
Right. I get you. Now, what form will this commemoration take on Friday?
On Friday, it is going to be historic. It is going to be unique. Unique in the sense that for the first time in the history of this country, particularly with the 28th February celebration, the country will witness a female vice president laying a wreath on behalf of the president and the people of Ghana.
Wow.
I'm talking about Professor Nana Opoku Agyeman.
Right.
She will be the special guest laying the wreath on behalf of the president, His Excellency JM, and the people of Ghana.
Okay. And then who else will be laying wreath?
The chief of OSU will lay a wreath. The chief of the defense staff of the Ghana Armed Forces will lay a wreath on behalf of military personnel.
That's right.
And the security services of this country. The chairman of the governing board of the Veterans Administration Ghana will lay a wreath. The executive director of VAG, in the person of Captain Ben Bia, will be reading the abridged history of the tragedy of that 28th February 1948.
Right.
And Comrade Wisdom Kudoho will be reading the roll call.
Okay. So there will be a parade by the veterans.
There will be a parade.
Are they strong enough to...
There will be a parade. You will not see any of the war veterans on parade.
Right.
Because they are too frail now.
Too frail.
Kudovo, who will be reading the roll call, is 97 years.
Right.
90. And in fact, he would have been 99. If you look into his discharge book,
okay,
he is 99. If you calculate his age from his discharge book, he should be 99.
But why is he holding on to the 97?
He's holding on to, yes, Johnny, you are smart. That's why you are sitting here. He's holding on to 97 because the British had inflated his age at the time of the enlistment.
To get him to be able to be...
so as not to be accused of indulging in child labor.
I see.
Isn't it interesting?
It is interesting.
The first time he showed up in my office, I collected his discharge book, looked into it, calculated his age, and I mentioned that, comrade, so you are of this age now, congratulations. He said, no. I said, but I've done the calculation from what is in your discharge book. Right. He said he should have asked me. I said, how can I ask you? How can I ask you? How can I ask you?
Right.
When, of course...
It's there on the paper. It's there in your discharge book.
He was making this disclosure that the British had inflated his age by 2 years.
Just so he could qualify to serve.
But let me add one interesting thing.
Yes, sir.
When, through the effort of VAG, Comrade Ashite was embarking on a trip to the UK to represent the whole continent of Africa at a program there. Right. When he got to the program, the British organizers wanted to repatriate him. They wanted to send him back to Ghana.
Really?
Yes.
After all his service?
Yes. They called me that this man, per their calculation, could not have served in the Second World War.
Because he's too old?
Too young.
Too young?
You know why?
No.
That is the problem of Ghanaians. They collected his passport and did the calculation from his passport. Johnny, I didn't know what to do. It would have meant that we did not do our homework well.
But that is not usual of you.
But
because I know you and Captain are very meticulous.
Exactly. So that wasn't even the situation. That wasn't even the case. So I said, please, they called me from there. I said, please, look into his discharge book. When they looked into his discharge book, his age was higher by 2 years.
So he had the same problem like Mr. Kudo, Comrade Kudo.
When he was going to acquire his passport in Ghana, he reduced the age by 2.
To reflect his real age?
No, not to reflect his real age. I don't know how come. But then there is a difference. I'm talking about Comrade Chite.
Right.
There is a difference between his age.
What is in the charge book?
What is in the
discharge book and what is on his passport? Okay.
I don't know whether his age was also inflated at the time of entering the military. I don't know. That's why he now decided to use his natural real age in acquiring the passport, which nearly worked against him
out there in the UK.
Fortunately, they trusted their discharge book more than our passport. So they went by the age in the discharge book and waved him on that. Yes, you are saved.
I see. How are we idolizing these gentlemen? Are we writing books about them? Are we digitizing their work so that we can have a vague museum of a sort? You know, because when they are dead and gone, we have to still keep memories of them to, as you say, whip up patriotism. How are we doing that?
Actually, we are not doing much to preserve their memories, which we are enjoined by Act 844, 2012, to do. We are not doing that. Will you believe it that it was a few years ago that, just about 5 years ago, that the widow of Private Odate Lamte passed away?
Whoa.
here in Accra at a suburb called Adedempo.
Yeah, Adedempo in Accra.
You know there?
Yes, around the arena area.
Good, that's where the widow of Private.
So she's been there all this while?
Yes.
And nobody knew?
And went blind before passing away. But I must give credit to Madam Frema Opari,
the former chief of staff,
the immediate past chief of staff, right. And former and the chief of staff of President Anadu.
That's right.
When I took GTV there, after I had discovered her,
right.
to go and do a story, and the story was aired.
Right.
The chief of staff sent a delegation to VAG.
Okay.
They came that I should lead them to the woman's residence. I did that with the help of their family head, Mr. Hammond, a retired teacher.
Right.
They went there, assessed her condition, went back, and later took some provisions to. In fact, they took up the responsibility of feeding her until she passed away.
Oh, bless her.
And even when she passed away, Flagstaff House under President Anadu bore the expenses of her burial and funeral.
Wow.
And I must say kudos to them for that.
Great.
Yes. So if we were to be documenting the experiences and memories of these people, we would have captured that woman before she
I think away. You should. It should be a project that you should do.
Yes.
Beyond the Poppy Appeal and this 28th February Remembrance Day, I think you should.
Yes.
You should.
I think it's something we started it under the late Executive Director, Colonel Chris Apefa Nutako. May he so rest in peace. Amen. When we were presenting citation to each of them from region, we were able to capture only 2 regions, Greater Accra and Western region.
Right.
Yes. And, the program could not continue, could not be sustained due to funding. We couldn't get funding.
Right. But I think that if you activate the museum and the library, people walk in, they pay a token, and they can. There are a lot of people who would like to read these things.
We'll give it a thought.
So, what time are we starting tomorrow?
Per the program from the Jubilee House, signed by Honorable Phyllis Ofosu Kwachi. 8 a.m.
Okay.
The program starts at 8
a.m. in the morning.
8 a.m.
Okay.
Yes.
At the crossroads.
Yes.
By the Kwame Nkrumah.
We call the venue Nationalism Park.
Nationalism Park.
It is located between the Accra Sports Stadium and the Independence Square.
That's right.
And it has been beautified now. You can go there in the evenings for some activities.
Right.
Yes, it's been beautified. But let me add a few things here.
Right, quickly before we wrap up.
Sergeant Ajete's burial location has been turned into a refuse dump. I'm sure you have ever...
On the La Road, I've seen that.
Yes, yes, which is unfortunate. I've mentioned that on BBC. Yes, it's unfortunate that...
but who is in charge of that? Is it you or the Museums and Monuments Board?
It is not under the museum because that was more or less a public cemetery.
Right. But it should be a heritage site now.
It should be. So the Museums and Monuments Board should take up that. Museums, Afos, Corporal Atipo, the family managed to have a monument.
Right.
In his hometown at Anyaku.
Right.
I think Museum and Monuments Board should take up the maintenance of that.
That's right.
Should take up the maintenance. The Ghana Armed Forces played a pivotal role in the unveiling of that. And then in the evening, when I say evening, the closing or late moments of President Mahama's first term, he put a committee together to plan the exhumation and reburial of the remains of Sergeant Ajete.
Okay.
I happened to be a member. I represented the Veterans Administration Ghana on that. And The committee was headed by a son of the land, that's Major General Odote.
Right.
Then the late Mr. Togbo of DPP.
That's right. That's
was
right.
A member.
Yes, great advert guru.
Yes, was a member. Museum and the Monuments Board was represented. Other interest groups were all
brought together.
Yes, present there. We had even a specialist from UCC.
Okay.
Yes, a pathologist from the UCC.
So that you could get the
took us through the process of exhumation and then preservation and then finally reburial. Unfortunately, we were about submitting our report when President Mahama exited office. So it is our hope that since he has come back now, he will complete the task that he had given himself. And at that time, the MCE who was there is Honorable Odole Soa.
Right.
Today, fortunately,
she's the MP.
She is holding, not only is she an MP, she is the Deputy Local Government Minister.
Right.
Recently, I sent her a message and I reminded her that we need to complete that task.
Right.
So it is our hope that this task will be completed. And during the time of the meeting, we sent a grandson of Sergeant Ajete in the person of Cornelius Ajete to the UK to go and see if he could get us some documents. And he was able to bring some useful documents.
Right.
Documents like the petition that the veterans were presenting that day, Nkrumah's prepared speech, and that of J.B. Dankwa.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the prints had faded so much that we had to strain our eyes before we could.
You should have brought it to me to read it for you.
Oh, I see.
I can do it for you.
Is that so?
Yes.
Okay.
If I see the document.
Okay. I'll communicate this to you.
I hear you, sir. I'm grateful for your time.
Then, you want to leave?
Our time is up.
Let me talk about.
You're enjoying the conversation.
Give me a minute.
Yes.
To talk about the major needs of veterans, contemporary veterans.
Right.
That is healthcare.
Okay.
I've said elsewhere that it's only when the veteran is on admission that the state takes care of him.
Right.
But as soon as he's discharged, the rest becomes his responsibility. Whether there will be a refund or not, it's not the headache of the state. Meanwhile, that is part of the condition of service of the soldier.
Okay. All right.
And NLA, I want to appeal to you that NLA is heavily indebted to VAG. NLA signed an agreement with VAG to be responsible for the operation of his lottery.
Right.
However, Samia Oku, today honorable, disappointed us. He left a debt of over 2 million Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
If that money is paid, we'll be able to be paying the medical bills in part of veterans.
I hear you.
And last but not least is the fact that VAG has been able to complete refurbishing a clinic, at the Amasam and Legion Village.
Right.
With doctors coming from 37.
Okay.
So this information goes to veterans living within the catchment area as well as civilians to patronize the facility.
Thank you very much, XW1 Bright Segbefia, who speaks for the Veterans Administration of Ghana. We're always grateful to have you, sir. Thank you very much for attending upon us. And we'll now do some birthdays and then wrap up. Inyunam Halega is standing by.